Making sure. Just making sure. Good morning. Yeah, that sounds about like today feels, doesn't it? Yeah, I know. Welcome. We are so glad that you are here in person or watching online. There may be a few more of you watching online this morning, but welcome regardless. We're glad that you've made the time to join us for this time of worship. And if you're a visitor with us, we want to extend a special welcome. If you're watching online, leave a comment, send us a message, let us know who you are. If you are here, we have visitors cards in the pew pockets. You can fill one of those out, drop that in one of these white boxes. There's one at the back by the door back there as well. But that'll just help us to know you, and we, of course, want to be of support, be of service in any way that we can. And a reminder, if you're new here, for any of our kids, we do have a children's message, but we also have worship care for kindergarten and younger. So please feel free to take your kids down there. We have great volunteers, wonderful activities there to help kids be engaged. And we also have worship bags at the back in the vestibule for our older kids as ways to engage in the service like that as well. And I also have done this from week to week, from time to time. So I will also encourage kids, and I guess any adults if you want to listen out for a particular word in the sermon. So only in the sermon. Count how many times you hear it, and let me know afterwards. And if you get it right, I will have a little treat for you next week. So adults, feel free to play along. But kids, definitely listen out. And today's word in the sermon is actually a name, Moses. So as soon as the sermon starts, start counting. Let me know your guesses afterwards. We do have some activities and events coming up. You can find those printed in your or on the front of your worship bulletin, particularly our ball club. This is Be Active, Live Longer. Our senior adult ministry will be gathering on Tuesday at 11:30 a.m. at the Garmin home. And you can RSVP to Juanita Molinax right over here in the pretty red jacket. To let her know if you are planning on coming, and would certainly love to have you join us for that. We also have some Renew campaign gatherings. This is to learn more about the renovations that we are doing here at the church and our vision for our facilities and for our ministries that will grow out of that. So some of you have already been invited, maybe if you're a little bit newer to the church, but anyone is welcome to attend any of these. Even if you kind of got that spiel and know what was happening with it a year ago, this is a great time to renew your interest and also hear about the updates of what is happening. So would love to have you join us for any of those. You can RSVP either to me or to any of these hosts to let us know you're planning on coming. And then we want to give you a heads up and go ahead and mark your calendars for a few things. On March 9th at 6:30 p.m. at Springfield Baptist Church, our Goal Justice Network will be meeting. This is a group of like 20 churches in the area who have joined together to try and advocate at a more societal, communal level for changes in our community around youth mental health, but also around housing and affordable rent in particular. So this is a way that we can speak with one voice. So we need people power. So if you can be there, please make a point to be there. The more people that are there, the better. And we'll be hearing about the specific problem statement that we are going to be addressing and advocating for, but also the solutions that we will be proposing. So would love to have you be there. Please let me know if you want any other information, but go ahead and mark your calendar. And then at the end of March, we are going to have a church camping trip. One night, it'll be up near Table Rock at Baxter Farm, which is actually Ashley Creech's dad's place. We've got electrical hookups. We've got a covered area, a huge covered area. In case of rain, we're going to have great food, some activities and fun, kind of a field day feel on Saturday. So it's open to any and all who would like to come. Let us know if you need more information, and we'll be getting you more information, but definitely mark your calendars for that date. I'll also call your attention, because, it's good to the giving opportunities and things on the back of your bulletin. You'll see our expenses and our revenue. These expenses are not just the the bills that we pay, but rather the costs that we incur to do the work of Christ in this church and in our community. So thank you for your faithfulness in giving to that. You can always mail in checks, drop off checks or cash. You can do that in these white boxes on your way out, or you can give through PayPal, and that information is there as well. We also want to remember those whom we hold in prayer, Peter and Andy Zender, who are expecting a baby boy, another baby boy, in addition to Teddy, who is already a part of their family. And that will be coming up in March. We remember Bentley Furster. His mom grew up here at the church, and they live in Florida now, but hold them in our prayers. Jeffrey Kellett, many of you know Jeffrey. He is having a surgery coming up on Friday of this week and asked for our prayers for him. And then if you have been watching in the news, I'm sure you have seen the utter devastation in Turkey and Syria from recent earthquakes there, a death toll that is just almost unimaginable. So please keep the people of those nations and people affected by this disaster in your prayers. And I also encourage you to put feet to your prayers, put hands to your prayers, find ways to engage and care for and reach out to the people of those countries in whatever way you can. I'll invite our choir to come up now as we begin our time of worship. They are going to lead us in a sung call to worship. And as they do, thank you again for being here, for joining us for this time. So let us, in this time, encounter the risen Christ, the rock on whom we build our lives. Let us worship together.
Where do I go? Let's pray. Lord, it's February, the month we celebrate all things love. And we know there's no greater love than yours. We're blessed to be able to gather in your house this morning to worship and to celebrate our love for you, our love for your church, and our love for this community. We ask that you open our hearts and our minds to receive your presence and your word so that when we leave here today, we can put that message to work and bring your love to more of your people. In your name we pray. Amen.
Hello, good morning. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Hunky Yoon. I see a lot of old friends and some new faces here, and I'm here to share with you the Star Word. That's my son's influence, which is something that I think we take a word, we reflect on it, and we see how we can use it in our lives and in our faith and all sorts of things to help us to grow and become better people. And I have to admit, when Greg texted me earlier this week and asked me if I could speak on the Star Word, I wasn't quite fully engaged. I was at a conference, there was a lot going on, and I said, well, honestly, I don't have a Star Word because we were not here on the day that we chose the word. And I said, but I'd be happy to do it because I could sort of sense the desperation coming from his text. And so I said, but I'd be happy to speak on it if you suggest something. So he said, how about this? And I said, sure, let's do it, without even thinking about it until I got home on Thursday night real late and started thinking about it. But I am sitting here, I'm delighted to talk about the Star Word, which is delight. So so when I thought about it, there were a few things that came to mind. The first one was how the word is used and how the true meaning, the joy, the exuberance, doesn't quite match how people use the word delight. So I just said I was delighted, and you say, I'm delighted to meet you. It's really, are you really delighted, or is it just a sort of different way to say, hey, it's nice to meet you, it's pleasant to meet you, it's a pleasantry. So it doesn't quite match up with the full meaning of the word and what the potential of the word would be and how it's used. It's a little bit similar to another pet peeve of mine and probably others, the use of the word literally, which is not quite the same. So the only way to make it worse would be, so I am literally delighted to meet you, which is not quite the same. But that's to say, I think there's two ways that we can use the word delight, or I can use the word delight, anybody can use the word delight, the way I've been thinking about it to be able to really make the most of it. So I think there's two aspects of delight. The first is receiving delight or getting delight out of something. It's really how it makes you feel, how it gives you energy, how it actually makes you a better person. And to that, I look to the inspiration from my son. So he's almost 6, and anybody who knows Beck and has talked to me for a couple of minutes quickly realizes that he has two really passions or two really favorite things. One is cars. The second is the color red. Okay. And so last week we put those two together, and as we were driving to church, my wife Jessica and I played a game with him. Okay, let's see how many red cars we can count on the way to church. And every time he saw a red car, he would shout it like he just won the lottery. Hey, red car here, red car there. And it was fun, but after a while it got a little bit annoying. And we thought, how many red cars could possibly be on a 15-minute drive? 15, 20. Turns out there were 79 red cars that we saw. The entire trip was red car, red car, red car. But he just brings so much energy and passion and interest into it, and that delight that every time he sees it, I think we can all learn from it. I can certainly learn from it too. Whatever makes me happy, whatever brings me joy and energy, or anybody, whether it's a good meal, company, presence of family and friends, faith, whatever it is, I think we should try to, or I should try to pursue it and get more out of it and really embrace that and be open to it. So I think that's something that I really want to try to work on. And the second thing, aspect of delight, is giving delight to others. It's you want to sort of live up to that expectation. If someone's delighted to meet you, you want to live up to that and say, okay, you want to bring that person delight. And when we think about it, and I was talking to my wife about it as well, there's an unlikely source of inspiration for that, and he's sitting in the back. It's mine and Greg's father-in-law, Robert. And you wouldn't think of delightful when you think of it. But if I think about it, anytime you have a conversation, he brings presence, he brings interest, inquisitiveness. He really is engaged and really connected with you in a conversation, and not just in learning and trying to connect with you. you ask him for something, he'll be right there and say, okay, well, I'm here to help you. So whether it's helping to move a piece of furniture, pick up a 300-pound treadmill, which he did with joy, or well, there was one time we thought we saw a snake in the steps leading out of our backyard, so we called him, because I grew up in New York, I know nothing about snakes, and I wouldn't know what to do anyway. So he came and took a look, and it turned out, he poked at it, it turned out to be a slug. So it's still a point of conversation. But anyway, I think the point is, if you can approach life and approach conversations and relationships with that sense of inquisitiveness, that openness, and I think you'll bring delight to the other person, and so that at the end of the conversation or end of whatever engagement, you'll leave the other person saying, it really was a delight to have met you and made your acquaintance. And I think that is something we can aspire to, and that's something that really will drive me to this with my Star Work for 2020. So thank you very much.
So let's sing with joy and delight. If you will, join me in singing our opening hymn, number 7, Joyful, Joyful, We Adore Thee. Thank you. You may be seated, and we'll invite children to come forward for the children's message with Miss Jackie.
Can you hear me? Yes. Okay. I do have a loud teacher's voice, but I guess I'll be forced to use this unless I can't do 2 things at one time. All right. So, boys and girls, today we're talking about the God giving us choice. Every day, all day long, you're making a choice. What to eat, what to say, what to read, what to play. And that's something special about us people. God gave us free choice. But do you ever make a choice that's not a good choice, that God wouldn't like? Admit it. Grown-ups do too. We make bad choices sometimes. Sometimes it's because we're crabby, or we don't want to do that right now, or we just don't feel like it. So today we are going to play a game called What Are the Choices? And I'm going to have some of you step up and open door number 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 or 6. We're going to take a look at what it says behind that door, and you're going to tell me what kind of choices you could make, good choices or bad ones. All right. So we need our first contestant. Come on up and open a door. Door number 6. There. It says, a person you are watching makes a mistake. It might be a grown-up. It might be another child. What choice could you make if somebody makes a mistake?
You say no.
You say, no, that's not a good idea? What else could you say? What choice could you make if you see somebody making a mistake?
You can help them.
You could help them out. What are some bad choices? If I was up here and I fell off of this, what might you do?
Not take the trash out on Mondays.
Oh, okay. You're going to trash? We're going to get to some other things, but I want to know how you react if somebody makes a mistake. What if I fell over? Would any of you laugh, maybe?
Yeah.
Some of you might laugh. See, you don't want to tell me what the bad choices would be. Or might you whisper to the person next to you, oh, look at them. They did something really stupid. Do you make choices like that sometimes? Yes. Or you could say, it's okay, like you did. Or you could say something to make them feel better. If I fell off, what might you say to me? I'm all embarrassed. Are you okay? What else? You could help them.
I forgot who said this, but somebody said, if somebody fell off and you immediately started laughing and they got really hurt, that would really make them sad.
Right.
But if you don't laugh and ask them, are you okay, they feel better.
Do you think that would be God's choice for us?
Yeah.
If somebody trips or if Mrs. Ender fell off by accident or something, I'd be really embarrassed. And if you all started laughing, which is easy to do, I'd feel even worse. So, your choice was to make them feel better and ask them if they're okay. Ding, 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 ding. You just won a brand new car. Oh, well, you can save it till you have your license. All right, I need a new contestant. Let's have you come up and open a door. And I'm sorry, I don't know all your names yet. Oh, door number 5. Oh, listen to this one. I bet it's happened to all of you. You're playing in your house and you broke a picture frame playing ball. Uh-oh. So it's laying on the floor. It's broken. Mom and Dad aren't anywhere around. What choices could you make? What choices could you make?
Tell them that you broke it.
Tell them right away. But what if you didn't want to tell them? What else could you do? What else could you do?
Make a new picture.
Make a new picture. Oh, that's an excellent idea. What else might you do? Now remember, you're really worried about this, so you might not always make the best choice.
Fix the place.
You could fix it so they wouldn't notice. Oh, come on. I want to hear some other choices you might make.
You could just tell them.
You could tell them. What if I took my foot and pushed it underneath the furniture where you couldn't see it? Could somebody make that choice?
No.
Or what if I said the dog did it?
That's lying.
I know. Oh, you are just so good at knowing what God would do. I don't think any of you would do that. Would you blame somebody else? So God's choice would be what? Tell the truth. That's what God would want you to do. All right, you just won a trip to Hawaii. Yay! All right, our next contestant. Let's have you come up and open a door. Door number 3. Oh, I bet you've done this before. You have to admit it. You see a new snack or candy at the grocery that you've heard about and you want it. You ask for it and your mom or dad says no. What could you do? Good or bad? What could you do?
Just not get it.
Not get it.
This is a bad choice. You could, and I have to admit, my dad did this when he was younger.
You could steal it. Oh my goodness. What else could you do? Wow.
You could have a craving for it and be sad.
You could just keep the craving for it and be sad.
You could buy it yourself.
Hey, if you have some spending money, you could buy it yourself. What else could you do if you really want that candy?
Get money.
Go get money.
There's this is like very bad. You can't steal it.
Oh my goodness. Anything else?
You can dress up on somebody else.
Dress up as somebody else? Oh my goodness. Wow.
You could steal someone's credit card.
Oh my goodness. Those are really bad choices. All right. So, what if I've heard this before? I really want it. I want to have it. Do you ever whine because you want something? Oh, some of you are being honest. Yes, I see that. So the good choice would be to, who told us, to just say that's okay. And you don't have you'll have the craving, but you'll say, I don't need it. So who said that to me? Oh, ding, 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 ding. You just won a trip to Disney World. Yay! All right, we need another contestant to step on over. Let's have you open a door. Ooh, your team was playing a game and they lost 8-0. Ooh, think about how you would feel, what choices you might make. What do you think?
Happened to me and everyone on my team cried.
And everybody, oh, you could cry because you feel so bad. That's natural. What else?
This kind of just happened to our team.
Okay.
So you could just kind of walk away.
You could walk away and say, you know what, there's another game. That's okay. What if your team lost? What would you do?
I would just kick somebody.
You would kick somebody because you were mad? Oh, some people do get, you know what, everybody gets mad sometimes. This happened to you?
That you have to just walk away and dress up as somebody, and you just have to cover yourself in mustard and gravy.
Oh, you're being silly.
Cover your back.
So you would walk away and dress up as something else and you would hide. Would any of you ever say something about the other team? What might you say that you shouldn't say?
Probably not church appropriate.
Oh, you know what? Well, it doesn't have to be that bad, but we all make bad choices. You mean like say, oh, they cheated. Well, have you ever thought about that? They cheated? Or they're not so good. Yeah. Or you might holler at them, boo. That happens a lot. But God would want you to say, it's okay. There's another game. And that's what Jesus would do. Say, there's another game. I played my best.
But we just had our champion game and we lost, so there's not another game.
Is there another season coming?
Yeah.
Okay, there's always another game and always another season. All right. You just won. If you knew to walk away and just say, I did my best and I'll try it again, you just won 1,000 pounds of candy.
There we go.
Yay! All right, I need another contestant to come on down. Oops, I'm gonna move that over. Oh, Mom or Dad is cleaning the kitchen and it's after supper. What could you do? You're done with supper. Mom's cleaning up. What could you do?
You could put your plate in the kitchen.
You could help by putting your dishes in the kitchen. What else could you do?
Just not help.
Not walk away and go play. Sure. What else?
Just be crazy and roll like a puppy.
Be crazy and act like a puppy. Yeah, that's another choice. Or what if Mom said, would you help me, please? Okay.
You could say, do you need any help? And if she says no, you don't have to.
Okay, you can ask her if she needs help.
Eat that ice cream in front of them. Make them feel bad.
Oh my goodness. All right, so we talked about good choices and bad choices, and you all sound like you're really good at making good choices since God gave us free will. So I want you to give yourself a hand, and the biggest prize of all playing this game is God's love and forgiveness. Give yourselves a hand. Okay, you can go back to your place.
I'm not Deb Blondeau, although apparently I am guilty of a misdemeanor. Regardless, our scripture, I'll do the scripture reading this morning. It comes from the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 30, and this is verses 15 through 20. See, I have set before you today life and prosperity, death and adversity. If you obey the commandments of the Lord your God that I am commanding you today by loving the Lord your God, walking in his ways and observing his commandments, decrees, and ordinances, then you shall live and become numerous. And the Lord your God will bless you in the land that you are entering to possess. But if your heart turns away and you do not hear, but are led astray to bow down to other gods and serve them, I declare to you today that you shall perish. You shall not live long in the land that you are crossing the Jordan to enter and possess. I call heaven and earth to witness against you today that I have set before you life and death, blessings and curses. Choose life, so that you and your descendants may live, loving the Lord your God, obeying him and holding fast to him. For that means life to you, and length of days, so that you may live in the land that the Lord swore to give to your ancestors, to Abraham, to Isaac, and to Jacob. This is the word of the Lord. Thanks be to God. Let's stand and sing again, this time hymn number 333, Leaning on the Everlasting Arms. We'll do the first and the last verses. What a Last weekend, my son Yates and I had the chance to see the national Broadway tour of Les Mis in Charlotte. It is my favorite book, my favorite musical, and because Yates is my favorite son, it's become his too. I read the book while my wife was pregnant with Yates. I sang him the songs when I'd rock him as a baby. I introduced him to the musical when he was younger, but this was the first time that we had the chance together to see it live. And it was a major moment for us. At least it was a major moment for me. And one of the major moments in the musical, and one of my favorites, actually comes pretty soon after the beginning of the show. Jean Valjean, the main character, has been paroled after serving 19 years in prison, where he has come to resent and hate others and even God. But then he encounters this gracious bishop who shows him extravagant hospitality and unexpected kindness. And in fact, when Valjean tries to steal the bishop's silver and gets caught, the bishop not only covers for him, but forgives him and even gives him the rest of the silver. But, the bishop says, "Remember this, my brother, see in this some higher plan. You must use this precious silver to become an honest man. By the witness of the martyrs, by the passion and the blood, God has raised you out of darkness. I have saved your soul for God." Right? And it throws, living out my dream in a little way. But this moment throws Jean Valjean into conflict because he is forced to choose which path he will follow and what kind of person he will be. The people of Israel have arrived at a similar defining moment in today's passage from Deuteronomy. Moses has led the people out of Egypt. He's brought them to the edge of the promised land, but Moses can go no further. So he restates God's covenant and commandments. Deuteronomy means second law. And then he leaves them with these final words, encouraging them to follow God's path and to be God's people. They're left with a choice. Will they cling to what is good and life-giving and to God, or will they go their own way and trust in themselves or other gods? If you think of Deuteronomy as Moses' farewell statement to the Israelite, his farewell sermon in a way, then this morning's passage is the altar call. So, with every head bowed and every eye, I'm just kidding, I'm not going to do that. But Moses does end this message with a choice. Another Frenchman named Jean, not Valjean, but philosopher Jean-Paul Sartre wrote, "We are our choices," saying that all of the decisions that we have made and continue to make shape our identity. Or in the words of the renowned theologian Albus Percival Wulfric Brian Dumbledore from Harry Potter, it is not our abilities that show what we truly are. It is our choices. My father has a similar line of thinking, and while he is no wizard and certainly no philosopher, sorry if you're watching, Dad, he's always told me that we always have choices. And when we choose or we don't choose, which is itself its own kind of choice, we have to be willing to accept the consequences of whatever we decide. Which is pretty good advice, right? Yes, it is. And no, it's not as well. Because while it may be true that we can choose in any given situation what we will or won't do, how we will act, how we will think, who we will be, while that may be true for many of us, there are also many people in our world whose options are much more limited and whose choices are much more difficult. If you live in poverty, do you pay for a visit to the ER if you get injured or sick, or do you forego medical treatment so you can pay the rent? Do you get a payday loan at 300% interest and put yourself in a financial hole to buy school clothes for your kids? Or do you make the more financially responsible choice, but know that your daughter's shoes really are too small for her to be wearing, and your son is going to get teased because of his ragged jeans and worn-out shirts? If you have a loved one who's on a self-destructive path, do you cut them off, show them some tough love, knowing they might very well be hurt, or it might be the end of the relationship, or do you try and help them knowing that you might only be enabling them? Choosing what is good or what is right or what is life-giving is often not as easy or as simple as we might think. And even for those of us who do have more freedom to choose and more options from which to choose, the sheer number of choices we face can be overwhelming. Do I go to church on a cold, rainy morning, or do I sleep in? Some of us don't have that choice. What should I wear? What do I want to eat for lunch? Who should I pull for in the Super Bowl? Do I get coffee or tea, paper or plastic, chocolate or vanilla, or strawberry? We face hundreds of choices every single day, and some of these decisions are pretty straightforward, like the ones I mentioned. You get chocolate, it's paper, you drink coffee, you pull for the Eagles, you eat a sandwich, and you definitely just wear a bow tie, obviously. Others, though, are not quite as simple. Should I marry her or him or them? Do I take the job? Do I stay where I am? Do I move to assisted living? Should I try and work through the relationship or call it quits? These are difficult decisions. The Israelites, though, they get an easy one. I have set before you life and death, blessing and curse, what is good and what is bad, what is of God and what is not. So choose life, choose God. Well, that's a no-brainer. Who in their right mind is going to choose what is bad or what is not of God, especially when God is the one presenting the choice? Who would choose death over life? Y'all can raise your hands too if you'd like, because we do. Call it death, call it curse, call it whatever you want. But the truth of the matter is this: we make choices that diminish our own well-being and the well-being of others all the time. Individual and collective choices, private and public decisions that push and pull us farther from God and from one another and from being the people Christ calls us to be. And that's essentially what death and curses are. It's moving away from God's promises and purposes, moving away from God, who is the giver and sustainer of all life and all blessings. Like when we choose to put our trust in other gods, putting our trust in power or politics, or in a sense of superiority or safety, or in wealth, or in weapons, or control, or comfort, or ourselves. When we choose to put our trust in ideas, or in stuff, or in people that make us feel good instead of choosing God's life-giving way, which leads us to do good. And if we detach ourselves from the creator and sustainer and giver of life, then that life will diminish. You're not going to get struck by lightning. You won't be smited, smitten, whatever. It's not a threat. It's just a statement of fact. If you hold your breath long enough, you will pass out. If you walk off a ledge, you will fall. And if you think you won't, you're kidding yourself. I remember comedian Mitch Hedberg once said, "My hotel doesn't have a 13th floor." But come on, man. You people on the 14th floor, you know what floor you're really on. What room are you in? I'm in 1403. No, you're not. You jump out of the window, you will die earlier. If you're on the 14th floor and you think you are 14 stories above the ground, you are kidding yourself. And we are kidding ourselves if we think we can disconnect ourselves from the source of all that is good and life-giving and not eventually wither and perish. We may exist. We may continue to breathe. Our hearts may continue to beat, but God is in the business of creating and cultivating what Barbara Brown Taylor called not mere pulse and respiration, but abundant, extravagant, my cup runneth over life. That is the kind of life God intends for all of God's children. But to experience that kind of life, we have to choose it. Or at least make choices that lead us toward it, even when those choices may seem minor. For instance, every morning I have a choice. Whether or not to take a pill that's in a little bottle on the bathroom counter. It's my anti-anxiety, anti-depression medication, which helps to steady me. It keeps me on an even keel. It keeps my anxieties from running amok. It keeps me from sinking too low emotionally. Now, I could choose not to. I could make the conscious decision every morning that I'm not going to take that medication. I could choose not to keep my monthly appointment with my counselor. I could choose not to take on the so-called stigma of being one of those people who works to maintain mental and emotional health. I could just stick the bottle in the drawer, shut it, not think about it. And I wouldn't have a breakdown that day or the next. I might not have one at all, but over time, I would struggle. And my anxieties would rise, and eventually they would consume me. And when I felt like I just couldn't cope anymore, my mind and my body would retreat into a depression. On any given morning, I could choose not to take that pill. But in doing so, I would be choosing not to live into the fullness and abundance and vibrancy of life that God intends for me and for us all. I would be choosing not to live into that fullness and abundance of vibrancy of life for myself or my family or our church. And to find that life, Moses says, we only need to find God. Where God is and what God is doing. We read in here that Moses tells the people simply to live their lives loving the Lord your God, obeying the commandments, clinging to God. In other words, when we choose to live our lives loving God and others, clinging to God, we might say holding on to God for dear life, then we are choosing life. And we choose life when we choose to live as fully as we can for God and with God. It's just that if we do, we are choosing God's kind of life and God's way of living. And so often, that's not the ways that we might otherwise choose. I had a friend in high school, a committed Christian, staunch liberal, pretty self-righteous about it too. You probably know the kind. And I remember when he was going to get his first car, his parents said, all right, this is the budget. Within that budget, you can pick what you want. They took him around to all the used car dealerships, and he narrowed down his choices to a Toyota Camry and a Pontiac Grand Am, if you remember what those are. And he admits the Camry was the more practical choice and more in line with his professed values. It was a 4-door sedan, not a 2-door coupe. So that means he had room to give rides to others who didn't have their own transportation, or to carry items, more things if he was helping someone in need. But the Grand Am had a sunroof. The Camry got better gas mileage, which meant he was being a better steward of not only his own resources, but God's creation. But the Grand Am had a sunroof. The Camry was less expensive too. They were both in the budget, but the Camry was cheaper, which made him feel like, okay, I'm not being quite as consumeristic or concerned with appearance. I'm being a better steward of my parents' resources. The Grand Am had a sunroof. So what was he going to do? Well, as he drove off the lot in his Grand Am, light streaming in through the open sunroof, he realized that for all he professed to value and believe, that wasn't necessarily the case, pardon the pun here, where the rubber met the road. Or take, for instance, one of my favorite scenes in a movie, Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade. When Indiana has found the location of the Holy Grail, the cup Jesus used at the Last Supper, it's guarded by an ancient knight in a hidden cave. But in that Grail room, there are dozens of cups, gold and wood and terracotta, jewel encrusted, some super shiny, some looking very plain. And the villain, who's also in the room, says, well, which one is it? And this ancient knight guarding it says, you must choose, but choose wisely. For as the true grail will bring you life, the false grail will take it from you. The villain ends up choosing a bejeweled gold chalice, and as he dips it in the water, still admiring it, he says, it certainly is the cup of the King of Kings. But within seconds from drinking it, he deteriorates into a skeleton through that terrible time-lapse 1980s special effects. At which point the knight looks over at Indy and says flatly, he chose poorly. Indiana Jones goes through the rest of the cups, picks up a simple, plain wooden cup. That's the cup of carpenter. And he drinks from it. He looks at the knight, waiting to see what will happen. And the knight says, you have chosen wisely. It was wisely because he chose not based on his preconceived notions or presumptions, not by his own values, but by God's values, by God's kind of life, by God's ways, simple, ordinary, humble. And while we may not be faced with those kinds of life and death choices, this day and every day we have the chance to choose between life and death and blessings and curses. This and every day we have the chance to choose God's way, loving God and loving others. This and every day we have the choice and the chance to live ethically, to care for others, to offer restitution and reparation for wrongs, to protect human dignity, to work for hope and love and justice and mercy and peace. Which is why we must choose this and every day to do whatever we can to stay connected to the presence of God, who gives and sustains life, to walk in the way of Jesus with prayer and service, through discipleship, through connection and community, through mutual challenge and accountability and encouragement and support, and with the awareness of God's presence with us everywhere. Friends, we have the chance to make choices, large and small, every single day that can move us and our world towards God's abundant, extravagant, cup runneth over life. But we must choose. Life or death, blessings or curses, not only for ourselves, but for all of God's children. When Moses presents this choice to the people of Israel, we never hear their answer. The story just moves on. We're never told how exactly they respond to his words. We don't know what they choose. And now we are those people. We are presented with this choice. The question still hangs in the air for us today. We have been fully informed. Heaven and earth will witness to that. So, what'll it be? The choice is yours.
It's not a test with a right and a wrong answer. There's no reward or punishment. It's life, and we have to choose it. Embrace life or ignore it, receive it or not. Choose to give life or to diminish life, to extend blessing or curse. Life is not the reward for picking the right answer. It's the thing that itself is worth picking. Your life is part of all life. Choose to be a part of it instead of being separate. Choose all of life, just not your own little lifeblood. The choices are seldom too right or wrong. They are manifold, a thicket of tangled roots, 1,000 ways to harm a neighbor, bless a stranger, set someone free. When you see life, any life, notice it, bow to it. When you have the chance to enrich a life, choose that. When someone has hurt you, give blessing, not curse. Where there is injustice, anything that diminishes life, choose what gives life instead. It will not always be easy to live out that choice, but the choosing will make you strong. The life that is given to you freely and without limit, choose it, or you will miss it entirely.
You're a child in my hand. You haven't walked yet. Your Those words have yet to be said, but I swear you'll be blessed. I know you're still just a dream. Your eyes might be green, or the bluest that I've ever seen. Anyway, you'll be blessed, and you'll be blessed. You'll have the best. I promise you that. I'll pick the star from the sky, pull your name from a hat. I promise you that, I promise you that, promise you that you'll be blessed. I need you before I'm too old to have and to hold, to walk with me and watch you grow. And I know that you're blessed, and you'll be blessed. You'll have the best. I promise you that. I'll pick the star from the sky, pull your name from the hat. I promise you that, promise you that you'll be blessed, you'll have the best. I promise you that. I'll pick the sky from the star, pull your name from the hat. I promise you that, I promise you that, I promise you that you'll be blessed. I promise you that, I promise you that, I promise you that you'll be blessed.
God's promise of blessing and life-giving purposes are for all of God's children. We simply must choose them and do whatever we can to be faithful to the God who is always faithful to us. So let's stand and sing of that great faithfulness. Hymn number 54, Great is Thy Faithfulness. We'll do the first and last verse.
They fail not.
Blessings all mine with 10,000 beside. Great is thy faithfulness. Great is thy faithfulness. Morning by morning, new mercies I see. All I have needed, thy hand hath provided. Great is thy faithfulness, Lord, unto me. Thank you again for worshiping with us, and a reminder about those upcoming opportunities to get plugged in, to get connected, to find ways to serve. And as we go now, to be as faithful as we can to God's promises and purposes, to, as my parents always used to say, make good choices. We pray that God would give us grace. Grace never to sell ourselves short. Grace to risk something big for something good. Grace to remember that the world is too dangerous for anything but truth, and too small for anything but love. So may God take our minds and think through them. May God take our lips and speak through them. May God take our hands and work through them. And may God take our hearts and set them on fire this day, every day, and forevermore. Amen. Go in peace.